welcome to the Crafty Mini, and we're going to be doing a community project. So it was I put a vote out and people said make something creepy. So we're going to start off with this paint your own money box I got from Hobbycraft. It's a ceramic one. And it's basically an octopus, sort of underwater seashell type diorama thing. And it's got a few little details on there, like a starfish, some coral, and some shells and things. But yeah, we're going to turn it into something creepy. So the shape and the fact that it's already got the sort of octopus slash squid's legs, and so I'm going to turn it into a Cthulhu RPG prop, which will also double as like a display ornament type thing. So first thing I'm going to do is just sketch out a rough sort of outline of what it looks like, and then what I'm going to add to it. So you can see here it's quite rough, and I'm just looking at proportions and things and seeing exactly what can turn into what. So there you can see this. So that's like the octopus squid. I'm not sure what animal it actually is because it's got more tentacles than either. And then it's got this nice shape of where sort of like the seabed type effect where the shells and the starfish are. And just from the sketch straight away, it's as if it's Cthulhu himself sort of sitting down. So that's what I'm going to go with. So I just start sketching things out and adding things. I'm giving a rough idea of what I want to do and how I can alter the actual shape and things like that. So the main idea is to elongate the head a little bit so we can get some more details and several pairs of eyes on there. And almost have it so it's like an idol that would be used in a ritual or something, and it's basically Cthulhu hunched up with his arms together, slumbering. And yeah, the shape of the actual money box itself does lends quite nice to this. There's not a lot of work that needs doing. Now originally I was going to use polymer clay for the actual sculpting. But two things. One, it was extremely cold during the time of filming this, and it took forever to condition the clay to a point that I could use it. And secondly, I was reading up, and these can actually crack a little bit if you put them in the oven, despite being ceramic, because they're actually like a really cheap one. I mean, it's only a couple of quid from Hobbycraft in the UK. So instead I'm going to bulk it out with tinfoil and milliput, which you'll see later on in the video. But for now, I'm just getting my rough ideas down, get a proportion sorted, something I'm happy with roughly for a design, and then go from there. Right, so using some kitchen foil, basically bulking it out, getting a rough idea of the shape, doing some extra tentacles and things, and this is just to elongate the head so it sort of matches, and then just hot gluing this down on top, and this is just so I don't use as much milliput. Then on top of this I'm going to build up some extra layers, especially on the ridges of where sort of the central part of the head and nose would be, and again using hot glue, and when this dries it just adds more and more layers and texture. And again, just building up all the bulk, adding some shapes for roughly where the eyes are going to be for when I put the milliput on after. And we'll probably do something nice with this, with the resin, UV resin later on as well. But plan is to give him 3 pairs of eyes, some extra tentacles, and again, elongate that head from the original squid sort of shape that was on the ceramic piece. Right, so onto the sculpting. So some milliput. This is milliput white, so it's a 2-part epoxy. I just grab equal parts of each, mix it together, and when it's ready, and then start adding it on. It's a really good material. You can use it in a variety of cases. I use this for sculpting on miniatures as well when I'm kit bashing and other things. But yeah, it's a really nice flexible material. I have seen people on other channels, you mix it in with some green stuff as well, you can. I've never tried that myself, but apparently that gives really good results as well. And then all I use is my silicone shaper tools, and I've always got a little pot of Vaseline around because it does get quite tacky, and while you can use water to smooth it out, Vaseline on the actual tools helps it go a bit further as well. So we're going to start adding this onto the sort of the design now, and start adding all those extra bits of detail. So you can see there where the glue's dried, the pairs of eyes that go down the head, and it's just a case now of getting chunks of this and just popping it on. So we're just smoothing this on now, and this will, with the glue that's dried hard and the lower layer of the actual foil, this, just smoothing it on as tight as we can, and this will allow all the ridges sort of start to form and make it more contiguous, and it's going to look it's going to have a lot of detail on it when it's done, and then we'll go in and actually start adding finer detail after this. But initially just plaster the whole thing in the milliput, quite a thin layer, because you can always build up after. Because remember, you can always add on, but you can't take out. It tends to tear, and sometimes it dries quite fast, this stuff, and it'll actually peel and crumble up if you're not careful. And you can see here on this head piece, I've added a more pronounced ridge with the milliput up the centre of the head and the sockets for the eyes. And now I'm going in my clay shaper, just smoothing everything together so it all connects. And I've just got a bit of Vaseline on the back of my other hand, and occasionally I'll just pop my silicone shaper into that just to help smooth it out. And again, just pushing this around and starting to add all the extra sort of bits of detail which will get picked up during the painting. And going back to sculpting has actually been a bit of fun, to be honest, because I've done a lot of painting recently on the channel, miniatures and busts and things, and yeah, this was a nice change of pace. And I like to do the community projects every so often, so don't forget to subscribe and everything, and keep your eye out on the community posts. There's always polls up there for things. Sometimes I've got several ideas and I don't know which to go for. I'll let you guys decide, and then I just film it and pop it up. But yeah, this has been a nice change of pace, as I say, and I've had real fun with this. And it's another cool, I really like the Lovecraftian lore, and this is a cool little prop that I can use in RPG games. Right, so onto the actual tentacles that I've had a layer of glue just to give them a bit more rigidity. I'm going to put a layer of milliput on now, and then the gap in between these front tentacles that I've made myself and the ones that were already on the money box, we'll add some more underneath as well. This is just to give a bit more depth, and also tentacles are good. Tentacles are very Lovecraftian and Cthulhu. But yeah, really simple, and I've just got, again, a bit of Vaseline, or a bit of water on your fingers just to help smooth the milliput out. And again, going in and adding texture and things. You can see there on the ridge that goes up the middle of the head, I've basically separated it almost like a spine, a set of vertebrae, and it's just adding all extra bits of character, and when it's painted it shows all these extra bits of detail, even just little things like stabbing a silicone tool, or just moving it across in random lines. It all adds character to the piece when it's done, and the paint makes it pop. At this point it doesn't look as good as it is when it's finished, but yeah, just make sure everything's smoothed in, and moving the tools around and make random shapes and stress lines and things, and just so it all adds at the end. And as mentioned, we're going to add some extra tentacles. Now I'm going to put some on top of the ones that were already on the actual casting of the money box, and again, it's just to give more depth and more layers, and make it look a bit gnarlier. Because there's a bit too much of a gap from where, sort of, if you imagine what his underside of his chin would be if he had human anatomy to the body. So we're just going to add some more there, so it looks like a huge sort of mass of tendrils. And at this point it's just a case of adding some extra details. So he's got these, I suppose almost like gills that I've put on the side of his head, and I just want to make the walls of those a bit more pronounced. So I've had a thin snake of milliput, flattened it out, and just blended it into the rest of the area of the skin, but then pinched the edges just so it's almost like a flap, like you'd see on the side of a cuttlefish or something similar. And again, this is all adding just the idea of extra texture, extra detail, and just a bit more character, and bulking out the silhouette from that original money box that we had. And it's really starting to take shape. Okay, whenever you're working with something soft like milliput, I always go back around and just make sure, because I've flattened some of the eye sockets accidentally while we're handling it, and just going back in and reopening them. The foil on the eyes there, I'm just depressing a little bit more, just so it shows up. But yeah, just going back through the silicone tool and just redefine any edges if you need to, just to neaten it up. Right, so once the milliput's dried, which doesn't take too long, it's ready to paint. So you can see there's lots of bits of detail and things there. Again, doesn't look as much at the moment, but once it's painted, it'll start to pop. So really cheap acrylic paint. You get this. I think this was from Hobbycraft. It's about £1.50 for that whole tube, just because it needs a solid base coat first. You can use things like Modge Podge with this as well if you need to strengthen it, but because it's milliput, it's alright. Once it's dry, it's solid. But this will need a couple of coats, and just plaster this on, get it into all the nooks and crannies. If you need to, just chuck in a bit of water to thin it down. But yeah, paint the entire miniature. So the milliput took about 4 or 5 hours to dry. I tested a little area on the back first, and it was still a bit too wet, so I just left it again for another hour or so, and then it was fine. And you can see it just going in and just filling everything up, getting everything painted, and then we'll start adding colour. Right, so we're going to start adding all the layers of colour now. So I've got myself a really old cheap brush, and it's not necessarily dry brushing that I'm doing, because there's a bit more paint than you'd normally have for a dry brush, but I'm just chucking on this, I believe it's Uniform Green by Vallejo, just getting this on as another base coat, neatening up any of the areas that I've missed, and just leaving some of that black in the recesses, and then we'll just build up layers and layers of this and then other colours, and it'll start to pop and come to life. And at this stage you really don't need to be neat, it's just a case of building up all the layers and all the colours we want, because it'll all give different sort of texture, and where it blends in, where the paint's thicker with the next layer on top, it'll blend in slightly different to where the paint's thinner, and so on. So you don't have to be that neat with this. And again, it's the idea of this is it's going to be like a weird little prop for the actual Call of Cthulhu game we'll be running soon, and so I want the players to, it's going to be handled. The idea is it's going to be something that they've found in this, like a cultist shop or something like that, and it's a bit of a strange sort of totem idol that the cultists are using to try and summon Cthulhu. Right, so that's had 2 coats of the olive drab. You can see there I've left the tips of the tentacles, but same sort of thing now, again with an old brush. And we're going to use the very bottoms of the tentacles and build up layers again in a transition into that darker green. And it just gives a bit of colour variation, just makes it pop a little bit more. And you can see where it blends into the greens, because again, not being too neat again at this point, but just popping it on and it starts to blend in, and we'll go in for a lighter green after this. And again, because I want this variation in green, so I'm adding Vallejo lime green to this. The other one was an intermediate green, and again, this is actually just going to be a slight mix of the two, and we're going to go not as far high up onto the tentacles, so we've just got the gradients of the different greens, And you can see here, just dabbing it on, and it gives a nice texture, a nice rough quality to it. And it just everything begins to pop, and just having a lighter shade of the same colour on, and this works with miniature painting as well, it helps show, showing everything off. And we're just feathering this on and getting to the tips. And you can see I'm just stippling this on onto the tips of the tentacles. Again, not being too neat, because this is going to have a wash all over, and it'll help dull this down a little bit. And again, just to variate the colours, so I've got some purple, and I'm just popping this on the sort of the inside of those fins that I mentioned. So there's one on each side and one on the back, and again, this is just to variate the colour. Same with the same principle when we do the eyes as well. It's just to make everything pop a little bit more. Right, so as mentioned, the wash. This is a brown oil wash, and I've popped in a little bit of ochre oil paint as well, just to lighten it slightly. And this gets put all over the miniature. And this is again just to dull everything down, tie it all together. Putting it on quite heavy, because we'll use methylated spirits and a bit of cloth just to clean it off afterwards as well. So over every single thing, because there's also little bits where the paint hasn't quite gone in well, and there's still a bit of milliput showing in between some of the cracks, so this will cover that up as well. And as I say, quite a liberal wash all over the actual miniature itself now. And again, with all these layers and the extra bits that we're adding and the variations in colour, this is starting to come to life.
No, it's not bloody working. I don't know. I think I've dialed the right number, yeah. Yeah, look. Oh, 700 crafty, yeah. I'm gonna have to try something else. Hang on. Oh, I wonder actually. Hey, Grandad. Hey, Grandad, can you get that portal going? I know, but it's fine, don't worry. No, do it quite like you don't want to wake up Azathoth, do you? He's gonna go right mental if he wakes up. Yeah, go on. I need to get back to Earth.
Right, so after the oil paint's been dried and I've just dabbed a little bit of the excess off, we're now onto the eyes. So the inside of the sockets I'm just doing with this transparent red. So it's actually quite a low pigment and it moves around a lot, so you actually get variations of where some bits of the purple and the green are still coming through. And we're going to build up the layers and create a different sort of pupil design with this as well. So initial base coat, just the red, and then go from there. We'll build, if we need a couple of coats in some of the eyeball sockets we do, I'll just add another coat when it's dry. But really, really simple. Right, so after that initial red layer, we're going to do some orange. And again, this is a Vallejo paint, and we're just dabbing this on quite thickly. And we're making the rough sort of shape of the sort of the iris of the eye. And then we'll go up to the yellow after that. And then start working on it ready for the pupils. But you can see here, going quite liberal with it again. And it's a really nice contrast. I'm not going right to the edge, so you can still see a bit of that initial red. But yeah, it just makes the eyes pop a little bit more. Once we do the UV resin, they're going to look really glossy when they're done. And now onto the yellow. So I'm just doing some yellow in the centre of the orange. Now the orange is still a bit wet at this point, so I'm dabbing this on quite thick. And this just makes the sort of centre of the pupil and makes everything pop a little bit more. And then I'll just use it again, using the yellow, elongate it. So it's almost like a vertical slit for a pupil instead of just a circle like we have. Just so it makes it look a bit more alien and a bit more creepy. Right, now onto the fun stuff. So UV resin. So I put quite a nice blob. I'm just covering the bottom layer. And then we'll cure that with the UV torch. And then when that's dry, we'll put another blob on top, and it just gives a nice sort of goldfish bowl effect to the actual eyes and makes them pop a little bit more. And you see here, so I literally, it's just a small bead of resin on top, cure that straight away, and it just gives a bit more depth to the eyes. So we're going to do this all over, finish up, and show you the actual end product. Right, and this is him finished. Nice little bit of ambient light, make it look a bit cooler, as if I am actually doing a ritual. But yeah, thank you for the community for voting. As I say, it's been a nice change of pace. Really enjoyed doing a bit of sculpting again. We've got some more videos coming, some more painting. I've got another sculpting project I want to do to add to something I did in the October Nightmare back in season 3. But yeah, really cool bit of fun. It's going to be a nice prop for the game, something that the guys can actually handle and see. And but thanks for watching, thank you for voting. Hope you've enjoyed the video. It's been fun. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and all that good stuff, and we'll see you on the next video. Right, oh for fuck. Oh, you've come back, haven't you?
Hello, my cheeky baby. Guess who is back? How are you doing? You alright, miss me? Oh, it's been lovely going to see old Grandad have a thought.
I don't care.
What is it?
You need to...
Oh.
Look, you need to just go right now. Seriously, this is
Oh, that's pretty
ridiculous.
rude.
End the video.